At the top was the French classic Le Femme d'Argent by Air, and just then was Froman with If You Were, which samples Cherish the Day by the wonderful, the beautiful, the talented Sade. So we've completed farming. We've figured it out. Job done. No, that's diminished your scientific integrity and your desire to learn. You haven't completed anything. You just like thinking differently.
I just like that idea. I think it's really cool, and I think it actually like works towards utopia and a life where we actually all can live together.
And everyone can eat.
There's this idea of
simple thing.
scarcity. Like this is too scarce, therefore, we must like control and fight and have our own things, and that's what everyone wants to do, and no one wants to end up on like the street, and that's like the fear-driven thing everyone lives on. But really, like I like that regenerative farming because it speaks to the idea that no, you actually can have enough resources for everyone. You just need to manage the land correctly, and you need to get rid of the dogmatism about the way things need to be done and start opening your mind to some of the non-material sort of ways in which you can develop land.
I love it, and I'm sorry for diminishing your
That's
stance.
fine. I wasn't
previously.
offended.
Another talking point we had written down, Kai Dickens, the Telepathy Tapes.
Yes.
Can you run me through a bit about Kai Dickens and what work he's been doing?
It's a woman. It is a woman.
I'm so sorry.
She's been doing the work, and I want to give a shout out to Jack Cripps, put me onto this podcast.
You finally got back to him?
I finally got back to him. He was apparently flat about that. But Jack Cripps and I have been mates for a long time. He got in contact with me about going to Sri Lanka. He was going to Sri Lanka and wanted to know about my experience and what monastery I stayed at and all the rest of it. So we kind of developed this relationship where we'd share resources about, spiritual stuff or things that were kind of paranormal or interesting. And he sent me this Joe Rogan podcast with Kai Dickens, and she is an award-winning filmmaker, celebrated for her transformative documentaries that tackle complex social issues, i.e. telepathy. So she has come out with
in the like Fantastic Four, read your mind, like as I would know, as pop culture would know, telepathy.
People reading people's minds.
Here we go,
sharing thoughts, and so she has started a podcast. However, it's actually built off a long documentary, which I believe is out there as well, called the Telepathy Tapes. Both the podcast and the documentary are called the Telepathy Tapes, and pretty much just documents and brings together a whole bunch of people around the world who have non-verbal autistic kids, or neurodivergent kids, and each of these people, whether it be the parents or the teachers, have had all these experiences of their non-verbal kid who they can't communicate with, reading their mind, reading their thoughts, bringing them something when they're literally thinking, gosh, I wish I needed that. And they had all these different people who were reporting this same thing, and until Kai Dickens came along and got them all together and said, hey, I think this is a thing. I think telepathy is real, and I think it is happening in non-verbal kids. Everyone was isolated and thinking that they were crazy. But she's gathered this big body of people to talk about their experiences with their kids or their students or participants exhibiting behaviours that are consistent with telepathy. And they conducted experiments like they would isolate the parent and the kid in different rooms, and the parent would have to think about a colour and an object, and the kid would almost every single time get it exactly
so
correct.
The non-verbal child would be in the other room. Let's say they had 10 colours in front of them. The parent in the other room would think of the colour, and the child would point to the colour. Yeah,
as well as like a corresponding object as well. So it'd be a couple different combinations. Blue ball, red sock.
Yeah.
And they would get it right effectively.
Are we talking like near 100%?
Oh, look, I can't tell you, and I can't quote. And again, like everything on, PTA.counterculture, it is like non-scientific. It can't really be explained. It's all very, it's all very
It's on the
challenging.
edge, and it's on the edge of science because there is this like intangible thing that it's very hard to measure.
Yeah, how can you measure it? Like I said, science kind of ends with materialism and cause and effect, and we all exist as like atoms. And when when the universe, when the Big Bang happens, and when you die, you're nothing. Like that's kind of what it is. There's no magic. There's no spirituality and connection, and
It's black and it's white.
it's black and it's white, and it's materialistic physicalism science. And this stuff, same as regenerative farming and having intention with the land, like it can't actually be described by science. So it's kind of a hard way to go about it. But yeah, she's pretty much just got together a whole bunch of anecdotal experiences and people talking about their experiences with their kids, and it really looks like it's a thing. And I would certainly recommend you go have a look at it because it's just amazing. And I'm very much excited by the idea that these concepts that we take as non-existent or can't exist or wishy-washy can exist, because it kind of furthers the argument for spirituality, for life after death, for all these different things that would definitely excites me. I'd be flat if when you die it's just blackness and you turn into sand and there's nothing, and that's not what I believe. So
what do you believe?
I believe pretty much in reincarnation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say I'd probably Buddhist in my core values of that, but I'm also a perennialist. I'm into the perennial philosophy. I think
Which
all
is?
religions are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And they all have the same model, and it's just a matter of interpretation as to how you think it actually is. Heaven, hell, like that can be interpreted as that mindset we're talking about. Heaven is only positive things and happiness and positive manifestations, and hell is poor me and anxious and divergent. All their physical places, all their different animals that you'll become, who knows? But I certainly think there's something, and I think that all this kind of information and all these really cool, even though they're anecdotes at the moment, all these bits of evidence coming out that says, hey, there's actually more.
It's the right steps to an official study though.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% controlled environments, like healthily practiced studies.
Yeah, and at the start, they all start with, I don't believe that,
An
and
idea,
that's silly,
yeah.
and that's crazy, and awareness, and a social, a cultural movement, and wow, have a look at this, and how can I have this experience? You asked me about near-death experiences the other night,
Well, someone was in the DMs. I've got to
DMs.
get back to them because it's a thing.
What did they
NDEs. I'll get it up now.
But yeah, no, NDEs are certainly, reported and talk about your spirit body detaching from your physical body. And if you talk about that like it's a real thing and that can happen, then, man, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
Because it does point to that. No, there's actually more going on. Therefore, like I was probably trying to allude to, that Buddhist nature of my desire, satisfaction, what I want for me to work out as Tom Barrass, and all this weight that I put on, and our kids, I want them to be well behaved and I need to be successful and all this shit. It actually doesn't matter.
Yep.
So therefore you can get along with living your life with good karma and living selflessly and living with love.
And one thing that I've been trying to pull from you is like altruism as well. It's just like, no, when I'm giving without the intention of ever receiving. I'm doing this the purest way. It's just, I'm doing this for you.
And that's pretty much Buddhism in a nutshell.
Yep.
That's what karmic action is.
Yep.
Like bad karmic action. Obviously it's like, being mean or bad, but you can still do the right things but get bad karma, because karma is actually all about like the position of your ego within that act, and like, is it about you, or have you surrendered your desire, satisfaction, and no longer creating karma, and you're just like going with the ocean and the flow of things, and then eventually you hit nirvana, which is where you realize that you are like, there is no difference between the world and you sort of almost have no free will in a sense, other than there's a deterministic aspect, and that's where they talk about nirvana and enlightenment.
There's an Alan Watts excerpt that I listened to with an ambient track laying on the back where he talks about the journey to Satchitananda and Nirvana and the process of getting there and fully relinquishing. Like if I'm running, I sometimes put it on.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Does it help? What's the DM say?
The DM, I reckon we'll go to a couple of songs and then we're going to get stuck into NDEs.
Okay, great. Let's do that.
Have you got a couple of songs packed in your pocket?
I've got a couple songs for you right here. We'll see you after the break.